All right, so we're at Acadia Studios right now. No, it's Acadia Recording Company, and we're talking about our new album, Connolly Part 2. And we want to take you track by track to tell you what you can expect if you hear this record, if you buy this record.
Sure.
It was recorded during our 2020 pandemic, and boy, do we have a story to tell.
We started this way back in the latter part, actually, of 2019. It started as almost like a home recording out at a friend's studio at Hills Beach in Biddeford. And we found our way to about 3 different real studios. The Halo here at Acadia, and also the studio in Portland with Steve Brown. And we wound up with 11 tracks, and we're really happy with the results.
I think we spent time like, well, wait a minute, what's the song we want people to hear first?
For sure.
And funny enough, the first song I actually sing on, and I've never sung on any of our songs before, on any record. And this really began as kind of a joke. The song's called Surfeit Safari. And it's really a song about going to Dublin for the first time by myself and really just kind of having a split in personality. There was part of me that wanted to be reserved and take in all of the culture, which I did eventually. But I went berserk, and I just really had a fun time. And I felt like I was in a different place. I could kind of be different and go around and act like a buffoon. So it was a song about just having a really good time in the city of Dublin. When we recorded this one, though, I just sang as a guide track over at Ted's house in Hills Beach. Obviously, I don't sing, so we had to adjust the vocals here and there. What we ended up with was a song that really has its own unique character, and upbeat for us, kind of pop punkish, great way to start the record.
I think that Ted Warner did an outstanding job with the guitar work. I remember hearing the lead solo for the first time, and I'm like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I would have done had I been playing the solo. If I could play that well, you know? I added some harmonies to it. The thing that was, I had never sung harmony with Chad before.
What would you? So when I finally revealed to you, be like, Sam, guess what? My lead vocals came out fine. What was your initial thoughts? Like, there's no way.
Yeah, right. Okay, this I've got to hear. And I was kind of bracing myself, and actually, it sounds really good.
Track number 2 is Dover Thrift Edition, and I can remember very specifically where that one was written. Elements Coffee Shop in Biddeford. I was in one of those things where I want to write a song today, and I was sitting at Elements, and I was like kind of looking at books, and I actually am really drawn to like Dover Thrift Edition books just because they're always so cheap. How can you say no to it? Like, if it's used like a 50-cent classic novel. So I always just buy them.
Absolutely, yeah.
But when I was thinking, I want to write a song called Dover Thrift Edition, I was instantly drawn to Elvis Costello, Every Day I Write the Book. For those of you who know that song, it's very much a tongue-in-cheek song that uses kind of literary references to form a song. And I wanted to do the same thing.
So it's like one metaphor after another.
One metaphor after another, but it kind of worked. And I looked at it and I thought, I don't know, I'm going to shovel that one away. And I remember you said, do you got any lyrics hanging around? Yeah, and I sent you, I'm like, you can have this one.
One of my philosophies about writing music, writing tunes, is to have the melody move with each chord. That is, there are some people who just, the tune doesn't change until the chord changes. But, try to have the melody move with every chord, during every chord. But,
and I especially, the bridge in that song is just amazing. And this song we recorded once over with Ted in Hills Beach. We listened to it, it was kind of dragging. It didn't really move. We took the tempo up, re-recorded it from scratch.
Right.
And I think that version's a lot better, but certainly in the second version when we go to the bridge, it's really breathtaking. I thought when I heard that the first time, getting the demo of what we had done over at the Halo.
Sure.
Hearing that, I was like, oh wow, it's very Andy Partridge, XTC.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we did a pretty good job.
No, I like it. I really do. I think it's great, and it's very indicative of all our collaborative efforts.
Next song is New Fascination.
Yes.
I love the story behind this song because, again, Ted Warner is one of my favorite guitarists in town, and he's so quick to pick things up. I had a keytar that had a really cheesy drum effect on it, and I actually played bass on the keytar. I remember sitting at his dining room table, And I just said, try something like Jerry Garcia would play.
Absolutely.
And then he just went into it, and I'm like, it happened that fast. And I was so happy because that song in particular doesn't sound like anything we've ever done before.
No, it's techno Grateful Dead because it's got like this Casio rhythm track against this really Jerry Garcia-esque guitar line, courtesy of Ted Warner. The other thing that I think is really funny about that song too is just the story behind writing it originally.
Yeah, interesting. I wrote these lyrics before the pandemic, and it's a song about the pandemic.
That's right. You were actually recovering from appendicitis.
Yeah, I got appendicitis.
And that's the quarantine to the now and the here.
That's right. I was quarantined, but at the same time I wrote these lyrics. You know, I had a lot of what do they give you in the hospital?
Opioids, fentanyl.
Yeah. I mean, I was in the hospital writing lyrics. That was part of what I wrote. I also
you cut a demo too, didn't you?
Yeah, no one will ever hear that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's the next song?
The next song is A New March. I came up with that tune. I described it to Chad as being kind of like a Billy Bragg sort of approach, but yet the chord progression is also a little bit squeeze-like too. I could actually picture playing it faster and making it more like something off of Argy Bargy or something like that.
Yeah, I just remember thinking that it didn't need anything other than the two guitars and two vocals. And that's also something we've never experimented with because we've always been a band that's had several people in it.
15 people in the band.
And you want to give everybody a role, but that was kind of refreshing. There's no bass in it.
But you play a mean tambourine, man.
I play I only play tambourine on that song, but I had fun writing the lyrics. It's a song about I was in Biddeford, I think, I got caught in a parade.
Yeah.
And I kind of wrote a song about going back and realizing that, not much has changed. It's the same old walk, same parade.
Exactly. You know, the participants might change, but it's the same idea.
That's right.
Yep.
All right, next is Paracetamol Philistines.
Yep.
Paracetamol Philistines. I don't know what to tell you about this because
a lot of preparation went into it.
I was really happy with this one simply because I got to call an old bandmate from the band I was in called the Frodis Caper. I got to call him back in and get him to sing. That's Joe Boucher. He played piano. We sat in his garage and went through it a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Then called in from the same band, the Frodis Caper, Chris White, who's all over this record. I like the way this came out. It's a song, not only about how areas of cities move around, gentrification, and it's a kind of song about, well, if things are going to move around, why bother putting your faith in things that are out of your control?
Right.
And I couldn't go to that recording session. And I remember calling you, I'm like, there's been a COVID outbreak at work. I've got to go get tested. Right. You and Joe are going to have to go to the studio on your own.
Right.
Went back in, and you guys did an amazing job with the vocals. We moved a few things around, but it was ready to go.
Yeah, we recorded so many vocal tracks. It was like we were just throwing everything against the wall to see what would stick. And to Kevin Billingsley's credit, he did an amazing job mixing the song.
Yeah.
He really did. He took all the random elements that we had created and distributed them in just the right fashion. It really sounds great.
All right, what's the next song?
The next song is Caterpillar. Yeah, keeping with the trend of always having a song with the name of a bug on the album.
Houston has Junebug.
Yeah.
Then I wrote a song for Piccadilly called Dragonfly, and I'm like, well, the first two songs have bugs on them. So the third one and all the other ones have to have bugs on them.
Right,
Because
tradition.
That's what you do.
Yeah.
Mike Maurice does a great organ and piano. I just remember sending the track to him and be like, what do you think this sounds like? And he just said 60s psychedelic.
And he was right.
And he just did it. He came back and it was like, this is really awesome. And I didn't expect to hear that at all.
No, because the thing is that, you know how when a song is written, you kind of get sort of a preconceived notion as to what it's going to sound like.
It was going to be jangly and maybe
or it's going to be this or it's going to be that. When we first demoed that song way back at the beginning, I heard it as like a Simon and Garfunkel piece.
Exactly.
And yet, when I heard the final track, I'm going...
It ended up as a Wyman and Garfunkel.
It's a Wyman and Garfunkel, right. I'm thinking to myself, this sounds like Simon and Garfunkel go disco or something.
Yeah. It's a really cool tune.
When I listen to Caterpillar, what I get from it is, you see a lot of people getting all overjoyed and happy. It's springtime, it's Easter, and yet, sorrow and the wind follow me home.
Yeah.
And I just can't escape that sort of thing. And yet at the end, we literally turn everything backwards. And maybe that's the way out.
Yeah.
Just reverse your attitude.
I felt like that was a great way to end side A.
Yes.
That reverse thing happening. And John Wyman, who mixed that song, I remember talking to him. I just said, something has to happen at the end, and I hear this thing. And John kind of did it with, one hand tied behind his back. And it kind of just did this thing where it just separated side A from side B.
Sure.
Yeah. But anyway, that's the end of side A.
End of side A. Flip it over.
Side B begins with the song we recorded first.
Yes, and that was
Ornament, Coordinate, Armament, and Alms.
Henceforth known only as Ornament because that's good enough for me.
This is right at the beginning of the pandemic. And I was feeling bad for people, but I was feeling bad for cities.
Yeah.
Cities were just like, how are we going to manage this? And things are closing. And then I thought about Dublin a little bit and some of the history of Dublin. And it's really a song about not waiting for people to help you and that you just got to help yourself.
Right.
And when you do that, you discover that there's a song in you that it's probably worth singing. And I got really caught up in this idea. I felt it was a great song, not only about looking around and driving around Dublin, but also what happened to be going on in the world at the time. So, Ornament, Coordinate,
Armament, and Alms
leads well into the next track because on the album, the track that really sounds like an Irish song, and I don't think we actually tried to do that either, but St. Anthony, again, is a song that I wrote the lyrics to. But I have to say, on the album, as far as your arrangements and songwriting, it probably is the most impressive.
It's the type of song that I was really going for, something that you would actually hold up a glass and sing in a pub.
Yeah, and you definitely got it there. I mean, it's really, for me, a song about when I moved over to England and visited Ireland. There were so many people who were just accommodating, but really wanted to show me around. And, it was kind of a tribute to that because I don't think those people realized how important that was. Because when somebody knows a city, they take you to the places that tourists don't go.
Right.
And I got to see these kind of pubs where, gosh, I mean, the musicianship and these songs and people were playing, and I was like,
camaraderie.
Man. Yeah, and I was like, I got to see it. It's like it's happening in front of me. And so St. Anthony, I'm not sure it's my favorite song on the album, but certainly it's a contender. So
yeah, I like it a lot too.
Next song. The second song we wrote for this record, and this one is really funny because it was the song we had the most hope for.
Oh, Youre Alive?
Like, Youre Alive.
Yeah.
Youre Alive started off like, this is it. Like, all right. And it ended up being the one where like, do we still like this?
Yeah, right. Well, and that's it, is that we had, the original arrangement was very guitar-oriented in the beginning, which is all fine and good, but the more we listened to it, the more it seemed like a piano song to us.
So that song is so piecemeal because it began at Ted's, it got moved to the Halo. We took some of Ted's guitar parts off. We called in Joe to add in piano, and it turned into something very different. I'm not saying it's better than the original, but it's more fitting with what was going on in the record.
And I think that what we wound up doing arrangement-wise is more fitting to the song itself.
Right. Yeah, and it's based on a conversation with David Gray again out in England. Mm-hmm. It's like I asked him, like, because you have such a strong sense of humor, do people ever not take you seriously because they can't tell if you're telling a joke or not? And so
and that's what really gets you down.
That's what really gets you down.
Yeah.
And I kind of remember, in Overnight Low, within even our own music scene, it's kind of like how every musician feels in their music scene. Like, is anybody listening? Like, are you taking me seriously?
Right.
Like, I'm really trying to do something here. But it's more of a song about just being an artist and like, are you hearing it the way I intended?
Right.
And, that kind of thing.
Right. The next song is Terminal D, which is actually the last song we recorded and was almost an afterthought. In that Chad sent me over some lyrics, and they were kind of, in my opinion, based on a song that we had done on Waverly called Tonight She Sings for You. And the working title of this one was Tonight She Sings for Me. I wrote that 1930s style tune, and Chad said, okay, it's going on the record. I'm booking Acadia, and we're gonna go there tomorrow.
We're putting this on the record,
Yeah.
and I'm like, I know who I want to be on it. I got in touch with Brad Terry,
Yeah.
who has such a rich history of playing the clarinet. I mean,
Absolutely.
not just in Maine, but around the
Brilliant,
world.
brilliant.
And he came in to this very studio and heard the song maybe once and was able to just turn it into almost like a nightclub act. It sounds really good.
Absolutely. Chad plays his ukulele, I play my acoustic guitar, and Brad plays the clarinet, and
That's it.
finish business.
And I remember telling Jason, who, gosh, we haven't mentioned Jason, but Jason Phelps.
Jason Phelps
right
here
here
in
over
Acadia.
at Acadia.
Yeah.
Such a good guy and so much fun to work with. I just told him, I'm like, look, I'm sending this album in to be mastered like next week. We've got to mix this and it's got to be ready. And he was so on board to do that. So it was.
And we have never done that, you know.
No.
Usually it's like when we record a song, it takes like 2 or 3 sessions and then another week to mix it and so on and so forth. But this was like, and we're done.
Yeah.
You know.
Last song, Gold Star.
Gold Star.
I actually play the drums on this song,
Yes.
but it was a drum track I recorded at Big Sound back in the day in another band.
Terminal Street in Westbrook.
I mentioned Joe Boucher and Chris White. It was a band that I was in with them. I was able to get the drums off of that. So that's me playing the drums in the 90s. And then in 2020, I'm playing bass to it. Is it kind of a bittersweet experience that I would say? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really a song about loneliness, but kind of understanding that
You're not alone. in
You're
the
not
scheme
alone.
of
Your
things.
memories of people are all around you. And if you can kind of just hold on to that, you kind of realize how many friends you've made, how many relationships you've had. And
Right.
just like, well, I feel like I'm preachy now, but
Yeah.
you know, just like the stars in the sky, there are people all around you.
Imagine the lilies in the field.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin mixed that one. Chris White is all over it.
Right.
You sing awesome on it.
I play 2 guitars. I play an electric guitar that was designed not to go out of tune, and I also play an acoustic guitar with a Nashville tuning, which gives it kind of like an interesting quality as well.
Yeah, it's a great way to end the record too. Like,
Upbeat.
I was listening to it the other day, and I liked it when Gold Star ended. It started with Surfeit Safari again.
Right.
And it was almost the same guitar tone.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I love this record. It's probably my favorite one so far.
Usually when I listen to one of our records, I'm like, oh, I could have sung that better. I'm very satisfied with the vocal tracks. I'm very satisfied with every aspect of it. And one thing that's very cool is that there are no 2 songs which are really all that similar to each other. You know, you have 11 very unique tracks relative to one another, and so it makes for a very interesting and fun listen. And I hope you've picked up some interesting information from this little.
I picked up some interesting information from you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Yeah. Right.
We should do this all the time.
Yeah. It's very therapeutic.
Here's a copy of Connolly Part 2, and we're so worried that we forgot somebody in this video, so we're just gonna say things.
We're gonna rattle off names.
This album was recorded by Ted Warner, Kevin Billingsley, Steve Drown, Jason Phelps, and Chris White. And it was mixed by Jonathan Wyman, Kevin Billingsley, Steve Drown, Jason Phelps, and Ted Warner.
And for additional musicians, Ted Warner, Chris White, Joe Boucher, Mike Maurice, Jimmy Doherty, Chris Plumstead, and Mr. Brad Terry.